At Bible Baptist, I sometimes mention our daily podcast. I'm sure people are thinking, podcast? What's a podcast? Even if they know what it is, they may not know how to sign up for one. So I'm going to take a few minutes and explain that. First, what's a podcast? Well, the short answer is a podcast is a series of audio or video programs that are automatically downloaded to your computer or mobile device. Whoa, let's break that down. First, it's a series. Like a radio or video show, it's an ongoing thing. You can find podcasts about almost any subject. I mean, there are podcasts about knitting, there are podcasts about web design, there are podcasts about filmmaking, there are podcasts about economics. Almost anything that you can think of, there's a podcast for it. Second, it's an audio or video program. For each of these series, there is someone who's regularly making audio files or video files for your enjoyment. They could be making them in a fancy professional studio with thousands of dollars worth of equipment, but most likely they're making these files with an inexpensive microphone or with an inexpensive camera and editing it on their laptop. That's why there's such a wide variety of podcasts available, because you don't have to be a professional to make one. Anyone can produce one. Third, they are automatically downloaded to your computer or mobile phone. The thing that makes podcasts really neat is you don't have to go looking for them every time one comes out. You subscribe to a podcast through podcasting software, which is often built into your smartphone or computer. Every time a new podcast comes out, it is automatically downloaded to your computer or smartphone so you can listen to it. About 8 years ago, I really wanted to learn web design. The problem was, I knew next to nothing about it. I didn't know anybody who did it. I could go to Barnes & Noble and buy an expensive book, but I had no idea which ones were worth buying, or even what many of them were about. I found a podcast called Boag World. It was put out by a couple of web developers in England. It was well done and entertaining, but more importantly, it helped me greatly understand web design. I've used similar podcasts to learn Photoshop and InDesign and many other things. I also subscribe to several news podcasts and sermon podcasts. My favorite podcasts, though, are ones where pastors like me discuss ministry philosophy and practice. There are several of them out there that I subscribe to. I'm now a podcaster. I have a daily 1-minute devotional podcast that I produce every day. It's called A Minute with Jesus. I'll give you a link to that later. So a podcast is a series of audio or video programs that are automatically downloaded to your computer or mobile device. That's the first question. Next question is this: how do you subscribe to a podcast? I'm going to show you how to subscribe to a podcast using software you probably already have on your computer, iTunes. iTunes is not the only program you can use on your computer for podcast, but it's probably the most popular one. It's really simple. Just open the iTunes program on your computer. Then, click on the link at the top right that says iTunes Store. Across the top, there are links that say music, movies, TV shows, App Store, etc. One of the links says podcast. Click on that. Here, you'll find a directory of podcasts you can sign up for. There are literally thousands of them. On the right, there's a link for categories. If you click on it, you can use this to narrow your search. There are so many podcasts. The ones that I recommend are really hard to find just by browsing. So I suggest you use the search function at the top right. To find my podcast, you can search for A Minute with Jesus. You can see our A Minute with Jesus podcast right at the top of the list of podcasts. If you click on the button, you'll see a subscribe button under the Minute with Jesus logo. Click on it, and you're subscribed. It's that easy. Another way to subscribe to a podcast is through the podcast website. One of my favorite podcasts is the Ministry Connection podcast. It's a podcast for independent Baptist pastors. Its website is theministryconnectionpodcast.com. Now, at the bottom of this website, there's a subscribe on iTunes button. If you click on it, it will open up iTunes to the iTunes Store with a subscribe link right there for you to click. Again, if you click subscribe, you'll be subscribed and have your podcast automatically on your computer whenever a new one comes out. You can use a similar process on mobile phones. It's different on Android, iPhone, and Windows Phone, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Let's look at one more question. How do you listen to it? This is easy. Just open iTunes. Up on the top left, there's a button that says Music. If you click on it, it will open a list, and you can click Podcast. Right there, you'll see the list of the podcasts that you're subscribed to. Just click on the podcast you want to listen to, and you'll see the most recent episodes already downloaded and ready to be listened to. Just click on it, click play, and enjoy. I hope you found this helpful. How about helping me out by subscribing to the Minute with Jesus podcast right now?